Let me ask you sort of a direct question that I'm sure many people who are watching this video want to know. Let's say there's someone watching right now and they're sore and their chiropractor or better yet, physical therapist has told them, you really should go do some yoga at the Y. What's your answer to them if you could speak to them?
I would tell them to do Pilates
instead. Don't do yoga, you're saying?
Don't do yoga. Definitely not do yoga.
Do not do yoga. That's okay. Don't do yoga. Now, okay, so the response to that sometimes is, okay, fine, I get that this stuff can have sort of religious undertones and it can even be something of a gateway drug. But look, I just know this woman and her name's Gladys and she has blue hair and she's super limber and she just wants to teach me some yoga, but she's not talking about cleansing my aura or chakras or anything like that. Why can't I do that?
That kind of stuff is right there beneath the surface of it. So the first thing I would say is, yes, these things are just exercises on their own. Like I was saying at the beginning, a lot of these actually came from Western gymnastics. Mm-hmm. Krishnamurti brought them in about 100 years ago to yoga. There are some asanas that probably come from earlier on in yogic history. There's paintings, and there's actually a major debate in academia about the extent to which these different exercises come from gymnastics versus yoga. And
interesting.
Like that.
Yeah. So what we're not saying is that certain bodily positions are intrinsically evil.
Right.
It's not as if the demons have a claim on how we move our arms and legs and backs and things.
The body isn't intrinsically good. I mean, in the Christian tradition, it participates in the glory of the soul by overflow, is the term that Thomas Aquinas uses. Our soul directly participates with God, but the body participates by overflow. And yoga did show me how the body can be used to glorify these things. The way that we manifest ourselves physically can show importance to different things. It can show our awareness, our astuteness. It can show our sense of purpose. Mm-hmm. That's why militaries for a long time trained people to sit a certain way and do things. In rugby, you really need to do things a certain way. I met a lot of Australians as I was playing rugby.
Yeah.
And the way that even just you look and you move can have an impact on other people, on their soul.
Okay, so no to yoga, yes to Pilates. What's the difference?
The problem with yoga is that the second that you intend to participate in something like that, then you bring on the other things with it. Then you open yourself to those other things. Then the bodily postures can become gateways to the things that it's talking about, regardless of your subjective intent in doing it.
Why does that have to be the case, though?
So there is an objective quality to our actions that goes beyond just our subjective intent. Like I was talking about earlier, there's lots of influences with the unconscious. When we fall in love with somebody, it affects our unconscious in ways we don't subjectively intend. Now, the first thing I would say to show people this is that yoga does claim to not be a religion and to just be exercise sometimes. But we have to be skeptical of these claims because it is very commercial. Mindfulness is a $1.1 billion industry. My yoga spiritual director was very, very good, but he charged me a lot of money for it. One commentator has termed mindfulness McMindfulness because of how it's become a great industry. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. When McDonald's says that its hamburgers are the tastiest out there and will make you fall in love or something, I'm loving it as the motto. Do you take those claims at face value?
No, I disbelieve them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's similar with yoga. I mean, we have to treat some of these claims as very commercial.
Okay.
As sort of similar to the claims that we have in commercials.
I just want to push you a bit here. Suppose I'm online and I see some kind of stretch. Turns out to be a yoga stretch, but I didn't know that. And so I do it, and it helps my back a great deal. And then you come to me and you say, I've got a sore lower back. And I'm like, well, I did this stretch and it really helped. Do this. Am I teaching you yoga?
That's a good question. It starts to get into murky waters, but I'd say if you just see a body posture online and you're not really intending to do yoga, you're not at a formal yoga class, and you don't say in your mind, I'm going to intend to do yoga, then you're probably not opening it up to it. That would be a good question for a lot of theologians to answer.
Because the reason I ask that is because otherwise it sounds like you're saying Hinduism has a monopoly on certain body postures.
Oh, no, definitely not. Once you put your intent behind it, then you start to participate in these Hindu rituals.
Okay.
And the proofs for that, you don't have to take my word for it. For example, I mentioned before Kali pose. If you go on Yoga Journal, which is the main source for yoga information in the United States, you'll find an article there that says that Kali pose, that goddess pose, as they call it, invokes Kali. They changed the name to goddess pose to make it more marketable. And in the article, it actually uses the term invoke Kali. Of course, most people don't know what Kali is. Even when I was doing the pose and they called it Kali pose, I didn't know who Kali was. But if you just Google her, you'll see a very fierce goddess with a necklace of severed human heads and a loincloth of severed human arms, triumphantly standing over a decapitated corpse that she's just topped off the head of. So this is a very fierce demon. I was pretty put off by that once I found it.
Yeah.
It made me much more skeptical of some of the claims that they have. And then when I was doing these postures, I could just sort of feel myself becoming more like them. You know, people imitate tennis players to play tennis, and then they sort of become more like them in a way if you have a really close relationship with a tennis instructor. It can be the same way with these people where because you're sort of making them role models, you become closer to them. And I could feel that changing some of my emotional disposition to be closer to them. Another good example is warrior pose, Virabhadra. So warrior pose is named after a Hindu mythical warrior named Virabhadra. What happened is that he was created by Shiva. Shiva's wife was angry at her father, Shiva's father-in-law, because her father didn't invite her to some sacrifice. So she actually committed suicide. Shiva was so distraught at this that he created Virabhadra to get revenge on his father-in-law. Now, warrior pose is a three-series pose. In the first one, he puts his arms up in the air. That's him sprouting out of the ground near his target. In the second one, he sees his target. It's in his sights. And then in the third one, he lunges for his target and decapitates him.
Wow.
So hiring a hitman to murder your father-in-law is pretty serious business and not something I wanted to get too involved in.
How interesting. Yeah, that's thank you for clearing that up. Yeah, I suppose you could say that it would be as problematic, and if you agree with this, for a Catholic to practice yoga as it would be problematic to a Hindu's Hinduism to come and practice Catholic rituals. Like, no, come kneel down. You'll notice. And we pray to Mary. We would intend that she hears us, and this will just help you. And you could see somebody like really commercializing Catholicism, almost prima facie, gutting it of its religious significance. But this is clearly Catholic acts that the Hindu would be engaging in this thought experiment.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like saying, come participate in Mass, receive the Eucharist just to make you feel better.
Yeah.
And just to enjoy the nice singing. I mean, that's all well and good to come to Mass for those reasons, but there's a lot more happening.
Okay, that's a great analogy. Yeah.
With the sacraments, there's much more happening that we're not conscious of.
Yeah.
I mean, we were just, I was just talking earlier with my fiance about how she realized St. Elizabeth of the Trinity was interceding for her recently, but she realized it a long while after the intercessions actually happened. It takes a while sometimes to recognize the actual spiritual effects. When you put your trust in something, it does have big implications, and you get a lot more from them than you think you're getting, than you're aware that you're getting. That's true for anything. Who you put your trust in matters a lot, and if you put your trust in these yogic gods like Kali and Virabhadra, then it becomes problematic.
Thank you so much for watching that clip. If you enjoyed it, do us a favor by clicking like and subscribe, and if you really liked it, consider sharing. Thanks.